Previously on 90s Max.
The best left back in the league, Anthony Robinson. And
we got to address that. We ain't skating over that. Best what?
Best left back in the Premier League.
We used to laugh at Man United of like, look at them, man, they're crap, but they're still crawling over the line. It's to vex us. We're now that team. People are like, Newcastle are not playing their best, but they're grinding these results.
Would you take it to win a cup?
But I take it, obviously. I take it. This whole thing with like Tonali and that, I don't know, man. The fan base is just gonna lose their shit if like Tonali's not on that starting lineup. I think you have to start Tonali for this game. I think what we don't want to do, we don't want to like not start him this game, but then all of a sudden we're trying to start him for Man City. It's just like no. Embed him in now.
Hello and welcome back to the 90s Max podcast, your podcast for everything Newcastle United, hosted by three lifelong Newcastle United fans. Myself, AC and Jefferson. You guys good?
What's up?
Yeah?
What's up?
Gauging the temperature. Yeah.
I don't know, man. My thermostat's not working.
Boy, it's a tough one.
It's not working. That's all I'm going to say.
But we're recording it soon after the Fulham game. But, you know, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Keep the comments coming in and that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're gonna review the our first loss of the season, a 3-1 away defeat to Fulham. Obviously, we had our special guest Kante, the Fulham supporter, on our preview. No doubt he's basking in glory at the moment, but yeah, 3-1. A lot to dissect from that one. So we'll start with the positives as usual. Yeah, start with positives. None. Right, so let's get into it, right? So, the one positive was Harvey Barnes scoring again, isn't it? Like,
he's been consistent.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, starting with the lineup. Obviously, Eddie Howe made a few changes. We spoke about it on the pod. I think I said I predicted Trippier to start and Kelly at left back, which happened. I think a lot of the fan base was screaming for Willock to start, but I don't think they expected that midfield of Bruno, Joelinton, and Willock. I thought they maybe Tonali and Willock alongside Bruno, and obviously Eddie Howe thought otherwise, so he's gone with Bruno, Willock, and Joelinton. And then we had the Barnes and Gordon experiment, teaming up with Isak up top. So, AC, what did you think of the lineup when you saw it?
So, at first, I was obviously looking at the spot of Longstaff because I think that was the big discussion. Everyone was kind of talking about it a little bit. And I think in our previous episodes, our discussion was about Longstaff versus Tonali in that position. Because Tonali is most suited for that position on the right-hand side. Now, when I see the lineup, and obviously when Newcastle share the lineup on Twitter, it's always like some really odd order. You're trying to work out the formation and stuff. But when I realized the formation, he had Joelinton on the right, Willock on the left. Now, it wasn't like a question mark in my head. I was thinking, you're putting Joelinton on the right. You know Joelinton's better on the left. And I think this is where the lineup kind of messed up from there, really, because you can't put Willock on the right anyway. So it's just like, I don't know what he's trying to do there. He's obviously trying to adapt a little bit of a different system, maybe. But clearly, like from the get-go kickoff, you could just see our midfield just look lost, man. Like no one was really in the positions that they should have been in, I would say. And I don't know. I feel sorry for Willock in a way because it's like, you know, he's coming back strong this season. You know, he's looking good and such. And I think it just wasn't fair for him to be put in that position like that. But also another glaring thing, this whole Barnes and Gordon debate about where should they start? Let's face it, they both want to play on the left. I don't think neither want to play on the right because you can see from the goals that Barnes scores, it's always on the left-hand side where he cuts in. So you want to put him on the right.
Gordon. He's outperforming Gordon at this present time.
Exactly. And when you put Barnes on the right, you're almost just like you're just limiting his capabilities of the success that he would do with his attention to goal. So I feel like in this position now, I feel like you have to play either one or the other. Don't play them both at the same time. It's not going to work. I think we've seen enough evidence of that. When they're switching, even in mid-game, they're trying to do it. Gordon doesn't look good on the right either. And I think at the moment, we can get more detail into this, but Gordon, I don't know what's going on with him at the moment. His head is just not in it. And I kind of feel like sometimes you got to be brave enough to make a decision to say, actually, I think you should just not start this game. Let Barnes start, and then Gordon might build some like fire in him to then when he does come on as an impact sub, he want to prove himself a bit more.
Okay.
And that's
So Jefferson, what was your initial thoughts when you saw the lineup?
I expected to see Tonali. I did. I was disappointed, but then at the same time, I was kind of happy to see Willock, because I think some of the themes of those first sort of 4 games has been that Isak has been quite isolated. When it comes to Harvey Barnes, it's been moments of individual brilliance. I wouldn't say he's actually supported Isak, whereas we know Willock is a really good ball carrier and likes to get forward in sort of those more acute areas. So that was encouraging. Obviously Kelly, Kelly and Trippier we kind of predicted, particularly Kelly, on the basis of trying to deal with Traore. But other than that, no real surprises.
Okay.
I expected us to get something from the game.
Yeah.
Okay. A draw at least.
Well, it's similar. Yeah, similar to you. I saw that lineup. I think I even tweeted. I said, "Listen, that lineup is enough to win the game." Yeah, I thought the personnel, obviously the midfield surprised me, but I expected Willock to start, but I expected Tonali to start as well. But on paper, I thought that's enough to get the job done. Now, AC, you mentioned about Gordon, maybe dropping him, right? Which I agree with, right? My only thing is that this is where we'll get to it a bit later anyway, but this is where I believe that Eddie Howe has no backbone, right? Because at the end of the day, I think that he's captain Bruno, yeah, to keep him at the club, right? And Bruno's not a captain. He's not. We've got bigger leaders in that team, I reckon, who are more suited to being captain, right? Gordon, I think, because of the situation that's happened in the summer with the transfer debacle and his head being turned and stuff, and like you said in the thing, we're trying to offer him a new contract. You can't bench him and try to entice him to stay, right? Or to sign a new contract if he's not playing, right? Yeah. So this is where I think Eddie Howe is, maybe no backbone, maybe harsh, but stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? Because Gordon's not performing, and normally underperforming players should be dropped, but Gordon is a bit of a precarious situation with Gordon if you want to keep him, right? So, and you're gonna have to keep him happy, right? And based on last season's performances, maybe he feels he needs a bit longer to get up to speed and that, blah, blah, and he'll come good. But going into the game itself, right? So we're not going to dissect it, minute by minute, but we've had the goal disallowed, and then 60 seconds later, they score, right? Now, where does it go wrong? Yeah, and how have we allowed ourselves to be caught lacking like that, Jefferson?
Yeah, I mean, very clearly. And listen, obviously, I'm sure Kante will be watching this episode. Just to say, Fulham did what they had to do. We knew that they had threats, and I think we struggled with their front four the whole game. And let's just say, honestly, Marco Silva, without having to sweat too much, was tactically ahead of Eddie Howe for the whole game. Anytime we made a change, they made a change. And the players he brought on affected the game. So firstly, I'm going to give Fulham their props. But when you look at it more plainly, the goals come all from individual errors. Because the first one, listen, I don't know how Cher lets Jimenez turn him. He should be grabbing hold of his shirt. The shots come in. He's within a yard of you. How is he turning? It's not like he's prime Didier Drogba. He should not be able to turn you. So I was really a great finish, by the way, once he had the opening. But very short, he allowed him to turn.
Really
just
good
before
goal.
that, was it joelinton that lost possession of the ball? You turned over the ball for them to break. I think it was.
I can't quite remember. That was a recurring theme, which I'm sure we'll touch on in terms of the midfield and why it isn't working. I'm sure we'll come back to that. But just quickly picking apart those goals, again, the second one, You know, you don't have to be a professional footballer to realise. I think it was Iwobi who had it on the left. He's not going to shoot from that acute angle. The square's going to come inside. So you should take 2 steps to your left. You know the pass is coming. You should be in a position to block it. It's almost like we're in pedestrian mode. We're watching what's going on, not anticipating. And then on top of that, the shot's a weak shot. It's a tame shot. So I don't know what Pope was doing, but it was savable.
Again.
Savable again. And there was a chance with the crossbar. Again, a lot of pedestrianism, ball watching, allowing them to sort of dictate play and run at us. And run at us they did. You know, the likes of Iwobi and Traore, Smith Rowe, they were running at us. There was no sort of fear. The pressing wasn't there. And then obviously, without delving into too much, that last goal, I mean, come on. He's got Dan Burn right next to him. So even if he thinks I can't hoof this, square it to Burn. Burn will bring his big boot out and swing that out. But just number one, schoolboy rule, clear your line. So I don't know who he thought he saw there that he could play it across to. But that terrible, because all I saw was two spare Fulham players in the middle of the box. So I was like, who are you passing to?
This Hollywood passing nonsense, bruv. Like, and you know what? As much as he's lucky, well, I say he's lucky, but we're already down in that game anyway. Had that been the goal that we conceded to lose the game,
to lose 2-1,
curtains, yeah. But even still, Eddie Howe needs to pull into one side and stop that nonsense, bruv. Because it's not the first time he's tried that, right? He takes too many risks. His decision making has been poor of late, and his performances have been poor. But we'll get to anyway. But like you said, it's individual errors that's cost us that game. But we didn't deserve anything out of the game because Fulham could have been like 4 or 5 and up in the first half. The amount of space we were giving them, for 45 minutes was actually embarrassing. No pressing, allowing Traore to look like prime Messi on the wing, bruv. He was having a field day, absolute field day with us. It was, and like I said, the second goal we conceded, the 1-2, bruv. I think it's Bruno just gave up on the man. Easy 1-2, and Smith throws in, and Nick Pope. Yeah, as much as he's made some very good saves to keep us in games and stuff, but he's done the same thing against Tottenham when he's fumbled the shot, and he's done again now. Like, this is where it's fine. This is where we start thinking about, do we need upgrades in certain positions? Yeah.
Apparently, goalkeeper wasn't a priority when we were all screaming for Mamadashvili.
Right.
You know.
Right. But AC, like, is it fair to say that this was the worst performance we put in? I mean, the performance has been bad anyway, but was this the worst performance, especially the first 45 minutes, that you've seen for us in a long time? Because this is what everyone's saying. It was that bad.
I think so, and I think we've clearly said on previous episodes that the loss is going to come, and it's not even to like wish on the negative. It's just, it is what it is, because we're escaping games, very like just getting it over the line just in the last minute or the last 5 minutes or ditch of it. We're very, 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 very close, and I just feel like that performance was really, really bad, like bad. It's usually, when we lose games, it's one of the things where sometimes the other team is just better in positions, they just do things better. But like you said, there were a lot of individual errors. I don't think there was actually a player for us yesterday who actually had any good sense of performance. Like across the whole board, the team, obviously I can't really put on too much on some of those subs because they came on, they tried to do their best, like people like Tonali, but also we can get into detail about that because he came on way too late.
70
way too late.
Was it? 70
way too late.
How bad must his brother be in training for him to be getting this treatment, man? He must be diabolical in training, bro, to be getting that treatment that he's getting at the moment. It's embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing. But like you said, the level of performances across the board has been poor. Like even in every game, let's get it right? Every game that we played, we've been dominated. We've been dominated against Southampton, Bournemouth, Spurs, who's the other one? Wolves, and now Fulham. Yeah. It's been, and in terms of performances, bar maybe Nick Pope, and even him has been questionable late. Who has really performed across the season? What, Harvey Barnes? Harvey Barnes
probably, because obviously he's scoring those goals.
And that's it.
And his ratio to his minutes is good because obviously he's not starting all the time. And, he's mostly an impact sub. But another thing that we want to talk about lineups here, and I was looking at our previous games of our lineups, and obviously, no surprise to everyone, we keep changing our left back and right backs every single game. And I do wonder, you know, I do wonder if, like, sometimes you do have to adapt, and I get it. Like, you try to adapt, and you guys predicted Kelly would start and such, but at the same time, for your back four, if you keep changing it every game, there's not going to be any consistency of those guys
Right.
playing together.
Right.
And I think it is affecting us. Like,
Right. And even the likes of Lewis Hall at left back, how is he supposed to get better if he's always been out the team, in the team, out the team, in the team? It makes no sense.
And just to say, he did good when he came on, you know, compared to Kelly. Like, I know it sounds really bad here, guys, but one positive is we definitely know who our starting left back is now. I don't want to see Kelly start at left back unless there's injuries or people need rest, because unfortunately, I don't know if it's because he's naturally a centre back. He doesn't want to move beyond that 20, 30 yard line.
Yeah.
He's not going to give us anything going forward. You know,
what? You made a good point about the Hall coming and being better, right? Because what we're seeing at this present time is that the substitutions, when they come in on, they are outperforming the starting 11, right? So why is that? Why is it that the starting 11, no matter who it is, can't get going? When they're replaced, the replacements do a lot better. And also, when Eddie, we've talked about Eddie Howe's predictability about the subs at 60 minutes, but now he's now going to 45 minutes when he's not liking it, like it or not, it's different. But is there an argument to say, all right, it's good that he's seeing something and he's changing it immediately, but at the same time, is that if you're having to change at 45 minutes, surely that means you've got it wrong in the first 45. Like what is it? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess to add into this, and I think, like, our fan base, and I don't really necessarily say this, but I know a lot of people, the fans, would say that, like, Eddie is a Monday to Friday manager. He likes to, like, coach the team throughout the week and prepare them for the game. And this is a good example of, like, you can prepare all you like, but the fact is, the starting 11 wasn't right. And I'm at the same point though, I'm glad they did make changes at halftime, because you had to. Once again, you were forced to. It's like, if you didn't, my goodness me, like, the away fans would have been like, what the hell is going on? But also, when we do substitutions, it's always like for like. That's another thing I do want to point out. It's like for like. We don't necessarily make substitution to adapt the game or try to adapt to where we're going to go forward or adapt our shape and rhythm. It's just like for like. So Hall comes on for Kelly, and you know the rest. So I don't know, man. There's so many question marks to be asked here, and we can go into even more.
Yeah,
like, look at Marco Silva. Look at what he did. After we made our changes, he brought on Harrison Reed and Sander Burge. And that closed things down for a bit. That stemmed the tide. And then when we brought on Asula, he brought on Diop and said, okay, we'll play 5 at the back. Try break
the Diop move was so obvious. He was just like, I'm setting up shop.
Yeah. Like, Silva was a step of him, was ahead of him every step of the way.
Is there something to say that, however, if Fabian Schär makes the right decision, right, and squares it to Isak, or better finish, then it's a different story. We may go on to win the game. Yeah, undeserved.
Maybe D-man, but you got to remember they hit the crossbar, and on top of that, I can't remember if it was before or after Iwobi missed a sit-up.
Oh, from close range.
He hit it straight at Pope. Like, he could hit it either side with power, and it's a goal. Everybody probably thought it was a goal, and he weakly hits it in front of him. I was like, oh wow,
we deserve nothing from the game, innit? But all right. So it's our first defeat of the season. Right, so it's not all doom and gloom, because we still got a respectable amount of points on the board, right? But we all agree that this defeat was coming because we've been performing so badly every single game. And we talked about it before. It's not sustainable. Good teams don't play like this on a consistent basis, right? They have to have the odd 1 or 2 games here and there where they perform bad, but they grind out a result, right? We were performing like the old Manchester United, bro, of last season, bro, when they were getting away with murder. We knew it would catch up with them eventually, right? So the question is now, why is this happening? Yeah. And what needs to be done to make sure it doesn't happen, it doesn't continue? Yeah. So is it the board? Is it the manager? Is it the players? Where are we going wrong? Yeah. Jefferson.
Listen, people will not want to hear this, but very simply, I think it's evident in these displays now. It's not 1 or 2 games. This is 5 games now. Again, it's not about the points. It's about the performances. they are performing like they want him to be sacked. He has lost the players. I'm not saying he's lost the dressing room, because there will still be some players who are very reactive to the manager, that are loyal to him and all that. But you can evidently see the ones that aren't happy, because we're talking about Brazilian internationals in Joelinton and Bruno. Their levels have significantly dropped. I know we haven't been able to get Isak involved in many games, but he's another one. There's a lot of them across the board. You look at Share a little bit yesterday, everybody's levels have dropped. So that is telling you he's arguably lost some players. Not all, but some. So you see the likes of Harvey Barnes, they're thriving getting that opportunity. They're like, yes, boss, I'll do this for you. You know,
Maybe
Lewis Hall
he might
gives
feel
his
like he
best.
owes us something, innit, because of the injury situation last season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he wants to make up for it. He wants to make up for it. And I'm
Same with
sure if
Tonali,
Tonali
yeah.
got out there, I'm sure if Tonali got more minutes, he would play 100% for the manager as well.
Yeah.
But the ones that have consistently been playing, I think he's lost them, because I think a lot of what Eddie has done from the time coming in after Bruce has been excessively positive man management. A lot of the mental sides of the games, and we were able to improve basics of our games compared to what we had with Steve Bruce. And it feels like a towel that was full of water, and he's wrung it out now. And he has his own limitations. As much as the fan base don't want to hear this, he was managing Bournemouth. He was managing a lower level of football. Okay, we're above that. And I think he's reached his limit, tactically and otherwise. Because how many people have we seen, whether it be in social media or even was it Julian Lorenz? I watched on ESPN. He was also talking about exploring a double pivot. Everybody's talking about it. So how has the manager not even explored this? You know, you don't need a FIFA qualification coaching
see.
badge to explore different options. Everybody knows that flat midfield three, it's not working. So do something different, or
That
change to a
formation, man.
4-2-3-1. Isak's isolated. It just feels like he's not changing the system. He's not changing the pattern of play. He's bereft of ideas. And football is also an education. So when you're coaching players, you're also teaching them new things. He has to stay ahead of his practice.
He's
to
not
then pass
innovative,
on
is
to the
he?
players. He's not
very
innovative.
regimented.
There's
So
no
what happens?
evolution to the
Remember at
team.
school,
Yeah.
right? Remember at school, you have some teachers you really like and some you don't. And some of that is about how are you stimulated. And you can only be stimulated mentally for so long. Like on the training field, what are they doing that's new? Because I feel like we're regressing. I'm not really seeing anything.
Well, that's what I wanted to
forward.
touch on, because AC, have you seen any progression since to 2 seasons ago, when we finished fourth and that? Are you seeing enough flexibility, variation? Are you seeing anything to suggest that Eddie Howe is the man to take us forward, or do you think that he's the man to take us forward, or has he reached his peak with us?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of elements to go into this, because at a very face value, people will just look at how he's performing this season or where we finished last season. But I think we have to really look back at our season 2 seasons ago, right? And look at the starting 11. That's where we got to start, because we haven't moved as a team within 2 seasons. It's the same team pretty much. Doesn't that say a lot? All our competitors are upgrading positions left, right, and center. You know, and maybe it's the fault that obviously we got the same manager now who's hitting like 3-year mark, right? It's just like nothing has actually changed. And questions do have to be pointed at our transfers as well. This summer gone, diabolical, man. I don't care what. I know people are trying to put out like who's at fault with this. It doesn't really matter at this particular stage, because it's like we've made no impact. Now, this is meant to be the season of like, we've got no European football. We're meant to push ahead. Our fixtures at the start of the season is favorable. We're meant to be like having this momentum. It's like we're meant to really be grasping things. But I feel like it's the same tricks we're trying to do, and it's not quite working. The team hasn't evolved. It hasn't adapted a new system. One of the many things that's alarming to me at the moment in the details here is Isak just being isolated, man. This is a world-class striker, right? Who we're not playing to the way that he likes to play. He likes to run in from behind. Our left and right men on the wings tend to be too far on the right. They're not close to Isak. So Isak gets the ball, he's isolated. Or if he comes down to get the ball, he's just surrounded by 3 players, gets the ball taken from him. I'm saying it.
If Tonali's on that pitch, bro, he can feed them through balls to him.
This is my right, exactly. I just feel like there's just so many elements to this. There's so much detail in this. We can break it down, but like, I just feel like we just not really pushed ahead. And I feel like, you know, there's only like some significant games. I look back at last season when we like thumped Tottenham at home, and he really changed the formation and shape and stuff and surprised Tottenham. That was like one of the biggest highlights of last season. But it's just like, man, if you did that more often, or you showed that like progression of doing something like that and just surprising teams, then this could be a different conversation altogether. But at the moment, I have to admit, I've been thinking about this quite a lot, and I'm just thinking, I'm finding it hard right now to look at the next fixtures coming up and thinking, is anything going to change?
Well,
and I don't think it will at this stage. I just don't think it will.
He's getting sacked. He's getting sacked.
I don't think it will. I don't think it will.
He will get sacked because we're not winning.
You make a good point, right? Yeah. So first of all, like, my issue with Eddie Howe is that, like you said, there's been no progression in the 2 years since we finished 4th. We're playing the same way, and it's pretty much the same team, right? These players don't have competition, right? So
competition.
Even from the top, even from Isak, yeah. As much as I love him, he hasn't been playing well either. But he's got no competition because Wilson can't keep fit, right? So he knows he's going to play regardless, right? Eddie Howe doesn't trust Asula, right? Joelinton has been probably one of our worst performing players this season, right? But he continues to play. And not only that, we signed him to a new contract. Maybe he's suffering from the same thing that Ozil did, Aubameyang did, where you get, even Salah at one point, you get
new contract curse. Yeah,
but he's not going on. He's our top earner. Like, he's chilling. Yeah, drop him at his peril. Like, don't get me wrong, bro. The transformation that Eddie Howe's done with him has been amazing, right?
Yeah, and I always salute that too. I always salute that.
One day we're gonna get Curtis on the podcast because he can't stand Joelinton, bro.
Really?
He's a basic. He was awful at centre forward. He's a basic centre midfielder, bro. He offers very little. When you hear his points, bro, he's going to be very interesting. But
we need him on a show, man. We need that. We need that because I don't really hear. We don't really hear Joelinton slander. So.
But what the alarming thing is, right? Listen, I rate Eddie Howe because St. James's Park, he's made a fortress for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Only the likes of Liverpool and Man City really come and get the points of us, Arsenal occasionally. But away from home, we're not going to mention that, bro. But away from home, yeah, we have been diabolical for over a year now, bro. Yeah, since the beginning of last season, we have been atrocious, and that needs to be addressed. Why is it that when you go away from home, we're not expected to take anything from it? Yeah, the Wolves one was an anomaly, bro. Yeah, we are so poor away from home. And like I said, the stuff with the midfield as well. How is it our midfield is so easy to bypass time and time again? And it's partly because we ain't got a number 6, right? Because we've got a midfield of a bunch of 8s, which hasn't been addressed in the time that he's been here. Everyone can see it's so alarming, bro. It's so alarming. And then the tactical, like, he's not flexible enough tactically, like you said, the formation. I know AC level 4-3-3 in it, but like he doesn't divert from that very, very rarely, and it's not working. If it's not working, something needs to change. A blind man can see that the loss against Fulham was coming because we played awful in every single game. Why hasn't he not tried to change things? I don't understand. And he's not once has he played the strongest team. Not once has he played the strongest team.
I don't know, man.
And I don't understand why. But is it all Eddie Howe's fault? Is it have the board got to take some responsibility? Have the players got to take some responsibility? Like, we can't always put it all on Eddie Howe. Yeah,
no.
A lot of it has to. But
we've said it before. The board should have taken more control and said, "Oi, oi, oi! This is what's happening here." Because a lot of the top clubs have it. They have what are deemed club signings, i.e., we're going to sign them and you're going to make it work. And I think there was room for that to happen. They should have taken control once they realized this ain't happening. It's not about keeping people happy. It's about the success of the club. They're all employees. They're all custodians, right? So any one of them could be gone tomorrow. It's about doing what's best for the club. So caring about Eddie Howe's pride or Mitchell's pride or whoever it is, someone should have said, we're making this signing. Now, obviously, sometimes it doesn't go down well. We've seen it before. A big example would be, Shevchenko at Chelsea. But you do get some what we call club signings. So I think the board could have stepped in and said, actually, we've got a plan B or plan C. We're going to go with this, try and make it work, please. And then let's evaluate this in January, rather than sort of watching it all play out a little bit. And I think there is something where the manager has a little bit too much control.
So do you think that, before we look at the upcoming fixtures on that, do you think that Eddie Howe is on thin ice and more questions are now being asked about him amongst the fan base and the board themselves, the AC?
You know how I feel about the thin ice. I started this season with our podcast talking about thin ice. I said the thin ice starts from now. And I don't know, people might not want to hear it or laugh at me or be like, oh, you just want Eddie Howe out. But I was just like, these first 10 games of this season are crucial. If you don't make it, you don't keep your head above water, you will sink. and it's as simple as that, really.
Well,
But I just want to say that, like, we can go through these next features, and I just, honestly, man, I don't want to be like ultra negative here, but I just don't see where it's coming from. I don't see where it's coming from, man. I don't see how we're going to progress and beat some of these teams.
Right.
Some people may feel like beating Everton away is a given. No.
Right.
No.
So I'm gonna list these fixtures, right? We've got City at home, Everton away, Brighton home, Chelsea away, Arsenal at home, right? So we're gonna go through them and see how do you think we're gonna do, right? So let's start with it. City at home. Does anyone think we're gonna get anything more than anything less than a defeat? Anything more than a defeat, sorry.
Listen, I saw City play Arsenal today. We know how that ended. City are gonna break us in two, man. They're gonna break us in two. So and you're gonna see Newcastle United do the ultra low block for like 90 minutes. I'm sorry, but it's gonna be really disgusting to see.
The only thing I'll say on that, bro, I don't want to hear nothing from Arsenal fans, because I saw a stat that I think City had something like 108 touches in their opposing half, and Arsenal had 2, at one point. So I'm not trying to hear none of that, right? But get ready for them stats to be very, very bad against Man City next season. Yeah?
I don't know if that was counting there because they had 10 men there.
I don't care, bruv.
Second
half. I don't care. You must be able to keep the ball for some period of time and get in the opposing half. That's ridiculous. Yeah. But anyway, Jefferson, are we getting anything at home to Man City next week?
No.
Right. I'm saying we're getting a defeat there. Yeah, at least 2-0. Right. So
you'll be nice.
Everton away. Yeah.
Haaland scored 2 goals in 20 minutes, by the way. I'm about to put a bet on. Haaland's going to score 2 goals in 20 minutes against us. Go on, continue.
Everton away. 5:30 on a Saturday evening. Right. So it's going to be dark. Everton under the lights. Right. Goodison Park.
Goodison Park.
Remember what they did to us last season?
Yeah, and I don't like it. And I think you got.
Best.
It's funny because there's players like Calvert-Lewin who we all laughed at in the summer, right? Stand to score a few goals. Obviously, Everton, no, don't get me wrong. I don't want to give Everton too much credit because this is a team who love go 2-0 up and then can't even like break bread afterwards. They just fold, right? So, look, we're better than Everton on paper. We're better than Everton on the pitch. But Everton's a hostile environment, man.
Have we played better than Everton this season?
No, we haven't. We've, in some ways, actually, I think it's only defensively Everton have let themselves down. They've deserved to win a good couple of games.
Right. Remember Brighton? They played well against Brighton up until they got the 10 men. Right. Obviously against Villa. Is it Villa? Not Villa. Villa was one before the Bournemouth for 80-something minutes. They were playing very well. Yeah. So they've had a lot of periods that they've been playing well. We have not. Right. So they've been outplaying us. Comparatively all season. They haven't won a game all season, right? They have to win sometime, right? They have to win sometime. I'm telling you that they're going to beat us. They beat us. I'm telling you, they're going to beat us, yeah? And they're going to score at least 2 goals. They're going to beat us, bro. Yeah,
man.
Yeah? No points. Jefferson, what do you reckon?
I think 1 point. If we get a win, fair enough. I'm a bit worried about Gordon playing in that hostile environment. He's going to be getting booed.
Shouldn't start anyway.
Yeah. So what? AC. So what you said the point, Jefferson. AC, what did you say?
I think Yeah, I think it's going to be a draw. I don't see.
Okay, so that's 1 point so far. I'm saying 0 points there. Okay, Brighton at home. I think that's a 3 o'clock kickoff. Brighton at home.
Draw.
I'm going to be honest. I think Brighton's going to win. Brighton play a lot of fluid football, and people, if you've not seen Brighton play this, you need to check out how Brighton are playing. They are playing ball.
They're playing ball, but they defensively they can't defend.
They drew to Forest today.
Yeah, so
I'm they 2-0 up as well.
No. They went 1-0 down, 2-1 up, and then
2-1 up.
Both managers got sent off apparently.
It's gonna be a hostile environment for Minter as well. But yeah, let's see.
It's gonna be hostile for him. He done nothing wrong.
To be honest,
they should clap the guy. They should clap the guy.
He didn't even start today.
Minter's never put on a black and white shirt, so
exactly, we're not going to hold it against him.
It's nothing against him. Yeah, you're right.
I actually think we beat them 2-1. Yeah, so I'm going to say 3 points there. Right? Chelsea away.
No.
Wicked slapped.
Yeah, 3-4-0. 3-4-0.
Awful. That's going to be an annihilation. Yeah.
Palmer is going to rip us a new one.
I don't want that as well. That out of all the games in it, it's like ones I really want to see us win. I want to see us win against Chelsea because that's a team that, like, I don't know, don't like Chelsea, man. So it's just like I would like to see a win come out of that. But let's face it, that Chelsea team are gelling.
When last year you went to Stamford Bridge as well.
Yeah. And I was saying to you guys before we started recording today is that one of the big issues we're starting to realize as well is you just got to look at how these teams are performing with their goal difference. Chelsea are up on the goal difference. We're currently only +1.
And they've got options on the bench across their attacking line. Yeah.
Madueke.
They got Sancho. They got Sancho.
Jackson is balling. Yeah, he scored more non-penalty goals since beginning last season than Isak. Wow, it's gonna look
not looking good.
Jackson outperforming Isak.
Scary time, bro. Yeah. My in-laws support Chelsea, bro, and I had a discussion with them the other day, and I was telling him how much better Isak is than Jackson, and he's like, "No, Jackson's going to score more goals than him this season." And right about now, it's looking mad for me, right? Bro, I don't know. I really don't know. But,
and then I know it's like Chelsea are the bully of the league who just buy up stock. But
looks like their transfer policy, everyone was mocking them. Looks like they've done well with it.
And guess what? They play with a double pivot. Right. That's what works.
Exactly. Yeah, but we've got this for anyway. Yeah. Then we've got Arsenal at home. Yeah. That's good. Not only that,
it'll be a fiery game.
That's going to be a war, bro. That's going to be a war.
3-0 or 3-1.
But we're losing that.
Do you think we're going to break down that their defense?
No way, bro.
Also, let's acknowledge this. How good are Arsenal at set pieces? And at this point of time now, I'm just like, we cannot give them a corner. They're just going to score. Saliba is just like, he's tallying up headers at the moment.
No, it's Gabriel, bro. It's Gabriel tallying up the headers, bro.
Gabriel, sorry.
Doing my FPL team wonders, but boy, that's it. That's another story. But so yeah, West after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, the most anyone's predicted is 3 points. Yeah. Does Eddie Howe survive that? Yeah.
No. As Thanos said in Infinity War, yeah, dread it, run from it. Destiny comes to you all the same, and that's what's happening for Eddie. After that dreadful run, right? There should be no credit in the bank of, these teams are better than us. We shouldn't be expecting points. It doesn't matter because we will be slipping down into mid-table, lower half mid-table, I would expect, after those run of defeats. And you add it to this Fulham one. That's why the Fulham game was so important, because if you get those points in the bag, it gives you a bit of a buffer to take those defeats. So I think
if the performances have been better, we'd probably be a bit more positive going to, even home to City with no Rodri, away to Everton and home to Brighton. You think, okay, maybe four, maybe 6 points out of that. No,
it's true. It's down to performance.
Him, more fault us, unless he obviously manages to pull out a couple of wins and a couple of draws or something. If he gets results, fair enough. But
the only chance of him actually coming out of this is that he has to start with the fundamentals. First of all, what is the formation? I've been thinking about this. So you keep a back four as you would do. And then, obviously, no surprise here, but I think a lot of people are now saying, I've been saying this for a while, we've all thought about this, is that when Tonali comes back, play him and Bruno just sit in front of the back two, and you play double pivot with those two. And in front, then I potentially would put someone like Willock, who can obviously like serve Isak right in front. And obviously, you would then have Barnes on the left or Gordon on the left. And for me personally, at the moment, the right hand side, I will just put Murphy. But what you do though, you bring them a bit closer in. Don't all this. Sometimes they're so wide out, man. I'm just like, no wonder like Isak is
They're
just like
crossing
isolated.
it in. Isak's not known for his headers.
No, exactly. Isak is not. He's not that kind of bully in the box. Like, I don't know. It's not that kind of player. You need to. He likes the ball on the ground. He likes the through ball. He's got that intelligent play where he'll make a quick, intelligent run, and he's so good with that. And also, he's good with the 1-2s and playing those systems there. And like you said earlier, D-Man, like if you play Tonali, do you know how good that guy will feed the ball to Isak? He will play the ball that no one would see, and that's his intelligent mindset. And obviously, you know, Bruno's still good at that as well, because Bruno's really good at picking those key passes as well. But also, what's good about Bruno that if you just say to him, "Look, stay back," as Tonali goes forward, he can do quite a good defensive duty as well.
Like, first of all, on Bruno's passing, right? Bruno's a decent passer, but you see when he can't arrow those long balls across the pitch like a shark. He can't drill it. It floats and takes a while to get there. It's a bit odd
because he hits it quite like vertically, and it comes take a bit of time, which then allows players to go like oh, where's it landing? Where's it landing? And then they get into position, and then
Tonali hits it like an arrow, bro. But also, why is it then? Obviously, Bruno has to play that I suppose that 6 role for us at the moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that Eddie Howe doesn't say to him, stay put? Yeah, just stay where you are, do not move, right? Because the moment you bomb forward, he hasn't got the recovery pace to get back. He hasn't. He's not a great tackler anyway, but if you stay in that position to protect the back four, you know, play them quarterback passes, whatever, or give it off to the Willocks or joelinton of this world, whatever, then we'd be more disciplined because, like you said, we're so vulnerable on the break, bro. Yeah, because all our midfielders are bombing forward, leaving our back line exposed. And what do they do in training? This is what I don't understand. But moving on from that, obviously, before anyone starts cutting, end of the day, we're not anti Eddie Howe, right? Yeah, we're just not happy clappers, and we're calling it how it is. We're saying how we see it, and it has to be said because this can't continue, right? And it is very concerning and alarming how we've been performing for a while now, right? But moving on above Eddie Howe, we got to talk about the board and Paul Mitchell, right? Because we haven't even addressed.
D-man, just sorry, I'm so sorry. I just thought of it as you mentioned that. Just before we move on, need to mention it. Gonna raise it again. Cult of Howe. All you waste people, chill the F out, yeah? Stop coming at us on social media. Stop abusing us. I'm getting called F in this, blah, blah, blah. I'm sick of you cretins. Chill the F out. This is factual things, as D-Man has said. We're not hating on the guy. Do you know what I mean? I'm still thankful for what he's done, but we have to call it out, and you can't keep shooting people down when they're coming out with factual things. And people are coming out with silly comments as well. People are very passive aggressive as well. And listen, you can watch our show, and feel free to interact with us, but please don't get brave. Don't get brave on social media, because I'm telling you now, you lot would not like it. Yeah, don't get brave, because someone chucked it and they didn't come back because they know people get too brave. So I want to shut this whole cult of Howe down, because
he can be criticized.
They're not proper for me. They're not proper Newcastle fans, in my opinion. Yeah, if you want to wish everything is perfect, or whatever, or you're not ambitious, go support Blythe Spartans. Go support South Shields. Go support Gateshead, innit?
The thing is, though, you know what the issue is, though, and I'm noticing the trend. The issue is that particular fans just keep looking back of like, he helped us like get our relegation. We done the best with him ever since, and like we go in the Champions League. But it's just like, guys,
the credit in the bank has to run.
There's a good old saying, though. There's a good old classic saying: "Don't rest on your laurels." Literally that. Don't rest on them. Like, obviously, we all appreciate that. We all appreciate a lot of things. But the thing is, though, it's like, how much time do you give this man? Because listen, it's been a year. of just not good performances. A year. A year.
Poor,
Reached
So
his
we've
peak.
been poor. Remember, Leicester sacked Ranieri, even though he won the Premier League title. We saw Louis van Gaal sacked based on the style of football. So that's even though he finished 4th and 5th and won FA Cup. They're like, we don't like this football. You're gone. Can
yeah.
anyone tell me they're actually enjoying us? Every game dominated by the other team. They're passing it, rings around us. We can barely string passes together. Do you know the last couple of games in particular, Wolves and Fulham, but other games you could count on, we take too many touches. And for those of you that don't watch football in any detail or haven't played football, when you take too many touches, you give the opposition time
Position,
to reset.
yeah.
So you can't pass it through them or you can't release players. So we
Mhm.
need technicians on the ball that can play 1 and 2 touch football.
We're a bunch
And
of athletes.
at
We're athletes.
Euros, when I was talking about the difference
Tonali.
between Wharton and Rice, Wharton takes 2 touches and is gone. You need to be able to anticipate things before you receive the ball. And so many times I watched Joe Linton and Bruno particularly touch, touch, touch. Oh, let's dribble. Oh, let's take it past
Wrong
my man.
decisions. Yeah.
Take a look up. If Isak's mate, just whip it in. Try release him. Even if you don't make the pass, it's better doing that than taking 3 touches and a man clamps you and you lose the ball. Do you know what I mean? Or you allow the defense to reset, then what? You have to pass it backwards or sideways. So when we're looking at recruitment, this is something I want to see. I want to see more technicians coming into the team.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Personally, by the way, I don't think Eddie Howe lasts until Christmas. I think he'll be gone before then because, given what we said about the fixtures, I think his time's up. Yeah, whether you like it or not, I think that's it. That's it for him. Yeah, and there's rumors that I saw something about that Mitchell will be gone before Eddie Howe sacked. I don't believe that.
Wow.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
Mitchell hasn't even started.
Well, obviously, he gave the interview to the journalist, which we obviously weren't privy to all of it, but it seems to have caused a rift. Obviously, let's be honest, Eddie Howe and him don't get on. They don't get on, right?
Standard,
They've got different ideas how the club should be run, and
Mhm.
it's starting to trickle down to the team. It's dividing the fan base. It's not good, right? So, is Mitchell right in what he said about things not being fit for purpose and kind of like putting the blame on the previous regime? And also he said that you don't know what Eddie Howe. He kind of rebutted what Eddie Howe was saying. Said he's been involved in the transfer business, and Eddie wanted obviously my man Guehi, and that was it. Like, what's your overall thoughts on the relationship between the two? And who's in a stronger position at the moment?
So let's start with this. Mitchell came in July. Transfer strategy was already in place. He says it in the interview that basically when he came in, things were up and running, so he had to kind of like let things as they go, as they are. Now, as that transfer window went, we obviously there's a good odd rumor here and there, but let's be honest, the whole thing was around Mark Guehi. It was going for like 70 million, etc. No, I'm so glad that we didn't do that. And I'm not talking about like the player himself. I still think he's a good player. And some people are trying to mock it now. They're like, oh, look at him now. He's not been that good. It's like, don't mock it. He's a great player, right? But it's not a good transfer strategy to spend 70 million on that one player when potentially we still got to do a squad rebuild. We still got players from the Bruce era. Like, we're still on that hangover. We're like, come on, guys. We are past the honeymoon stage of this takeover. Like, we should be like quite well oiled now. So I think that's what he's talking about, is that when it comes to transfer strategy, it wasn't a good strategy put in place, because you think, man, 60 million there, 50 million there, 70 million there, it's a good strategy. It's just not. It's just not. Like, he did talk about, like, obviously, the shortcomings may take a hit, but you'll be better in the long run. So what we kind of should have done, and don't get me wrong, I love Isak and I love his certain players that we did buy because they have been good for us, but the chances are is that maybe we should have just been like, let's bring some good youth in, bring them in, start them up. It might take us a bit of time to get up to speed, but by this time now, the outlook would be quite different, because you have a lot more players, you've got no more left hangover, you're not relying on Murphy to be the exceptional right winger, You know, I don't like pulling out Murphy like that because I still think, you know, he's been a good service to the club. But let's face it, Almiron's been dropped as well. So once again, we're lacking of buying a right winger player as well. It's just very all alarming. And I just feel like Mitchell, we all know what he's good for. You know what he's going to do. You know, he really wants to bring in a good strategy to the transfer policies, what he wants to do. He wants to build up from the ground up. His strategy is not to buy £70 million players. So let's get it straight. That was not his target. That is not his plan. That was Eddie Howe directing that's what he wants to do. And you guys, you know what it's like, when you come to a new job, you want to get along with your colleagues, right? You're not going to come in and put your feet on the table and be like, right, my way now.
Yeah.
He has to obviously try and work with Eddie Howe and the crew to be like, let's just see how things go. And it's very telling at the moment that they go into all the games, they're watching the games, bro, they don't look impressed. And I don't blame them to that certain extent as well. But I feel like we have to remember, PIF did bring in Paul Mitchell. That is from our head honcho bringing this into saying, look, this is what I want to do. Because people they're forgetting about, obviously we're talking about Newcastle here, but there's a bigger plan here. I think overall, what we're going to be doing is that PIF are looking to a multi-club strategy. This is bigger than Newcastle, because what Paul Mitchell did with Red Bull, he was overseeing numerous clubs underneath that one big model. So we're talking about a very big strategy type of plan. So this whole small thing about us in Newcastle on Tyneside, about that small little plan of that view about just Eddie Howe and Mitchell, no. There's a bigger plan ahead.
Well, you think about it. Sorry to cut you, but you think about it. With a well-oiled club, right, who's got a sporting director in place, yeah, it correct if I'm wrong, but it's about having a particular style of play, yeah, and a particular characteristic of player, right, that the sporting director can bring in, right, and the team's molded like that. So if and when the manager leaves, you hire then another manager who can play the similar style of play.
Just the same system,
right?
Yeah.
Same system from top to bottom. There seems to still be some sort of breakdown between what Mitchell thinks we should be and what Eddie Howe is, right? And that can't coexist for much longer. So somewhere along the line, either someone's going to have to, compromise heavily, or someone's going to have to leave. Now, like you said, Mitchell was PIF choice, PIF hiring. So at the moment, he's got more of a say or more power than Eddie Howe, and probably that's why Eddie Howe doesn't like it, right? Now we'll learn about it more in the January transfer window to see who we're going for and who we actually get, to see who's actually pulling the strings there, who's the big dog in this, right? Because, but like I said, it can't continue if they're going on two different paths and two different identities. It cannot continue. Jefferson, what do you think about the whole thing?
At the end of the day, it feels like we've got an old car, but we've put a new engine in it, So obviously the car on the outside, it's not going to look the nicest. It might purr, it might roar, but the actual performance, we don't know. Ideally, you want to marry up a new engine as part of a new car. So for me, once we didn't qualify for Europe, Eddie should have been sacked at that point and said, look, thank you very much for what you've done. Sorry, you've had bad luck with injuries and stuff, but we didn't meet our objectives. And what they do is they bring in their actual man that can then work in tandem with their director of football. Because what's happened is you've kind of got a dislodged two sort of legacies. You've got the new one through the ownership, and you've got the pre-existing one with Eddie remaining, who was very much Amanda's sort of person. What I would say about our recruitment at the moment, you could argue sort of the likes of Sven Botman's a good signing, Lewis Hall as well, and we didn't sort of overpay for those guys, in and around that £30 million mark, which isn't too bad. But like AC was saying, spending 50, 60, 70 million is sort of not acceptable. And I think I talked about this before. Tonali, spending 55 million on him, I don't think that was ideal. 63 on Isak, as much as I love him, were there cheap options? I don't know. Obviously, we signed him as a result potentially of that Pedro deal falling through. If you look at the previous regime, and I know people don't want to go back to that, But one thing they did have spot on was their recruitment. I think the recruitment in the previous regime was better. So here are some examples, right? Just off the top of my head. I believe Mohamed Sissoko. Sorry, yeah, Sissoko, right? Sissoko. I forgot his first name. Is it Mohamed?
I don't even know, bro.
I don't think so.
Musa,
yeah.
Sissoko was 1.8 million from Toulouse. We sold him for 30 million to Spurs. Jose Perez was 1.6 million from Tenerife in the second division. We sold him for 30 million to Leicester. So these were the kind of signings that we were making. Even when we got Debussy, who didn't fit in with us, I think we paid like 9 million. We sold him for 12. You know, we were always able to sort of make margins of profit with our signings. Even if you look at Gini Wijnaldum, I think we signed him for 14, sold him for 25. You know, Mitrovic, signed him for 13, sold him for 27. So Graham Carr knew what he was doing. Now, Steve Nixon, I don't know how much control he has over the operation, but you could argue our recruitment hasn't been as good as it was in the previous regime. So that's probably where we want to move to again, where we can get these sort of obscure talents mainly from Europe. So Mitchell was talking about our net not being casted wide enough. Maybe we're just looking at certain countries. We need to be looking all over the world to be able to get players that, with a bit of coaching, they'll be ready for the first team. Not ready straight away. They've got potential. You can build up on that and then sell them on, because the amount of times I said to you guys in the DMs, I was spouting it on Twitter a while back, particularly when we had Ashworth. I think Ashworth tried to sign Alan Varela for Valera or Varela? Alan Varela for us, a defensive midfielder. He was available for like 10 million. He ended up going to Porto. Good luck trying to get him now. It'll be 40, 50 mil. The same with Andre Santos. I think he was available for about 12 million. We didn't show enough initiative. He ended up going to Chelsea. I mean, we'll see how he develops at Strasbourg. Another one was Maxim Perrone, captain at the age of 18 for Vélez Sarsfield. Really impressed in South America. Man City signed him for £8 million. They've now loaned him to Como. They think he's got a bright future. He's going to come back and potentially be a long-term replacement for Rodri. So even these bigger clubs are making these smart signings where they're going to South America, not even Europe, South America, getting really cheap talent. Why are we always going for sort of Premier League proven?
And that's the thing. You will never see Man City just spend like 70 million on a player like that. It just doesn't really. It's not going to happen. Even though they have the money. But also, it goes back to the point though, because
we got to be getting better at selling as well.
That's what I was going to say. Selling. Because I think this goes back to the whole thing about the team hasn't really evolved in the 2 years. It's mainly because a lot of players are just still there. Like, honestly, I think the first one to look at is Wilson. I feel like that guy should have shifted a while ago, and now we're stuck with him.
Lascelles has been there 10 years. When that offer came in for Besiktas, we didn't even sell him.
Is Isaac Hayden still on our books?
Technically, I think so.
Jesus.
Like, for example, if the rumors was that, like, if we did get like Europe and whatever, this and that players like Dummett and Richie might got extended contracts just because they passed for like homegrown players. I was just like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? What?
Yeah.
What you do, you just let the guys go, but you bring in your youth players who are homegrown players. There's some good talent in the under 21s with Newcastle United. Bring them in. That's another thing. We don't bring the youth in, man. What's going on?
I haven't seen Alex Murphy play since the American tour.
What's Ashby?
Last season. I could be wrong. Ashby, you know, he was a signing that was sort of meant to be sort of heir apparent to Trippier.
Are we going to see any more Sanusi this season? Yeah, who knows?
You're going to see Sanusi if we get new management coming in. I feel like if you think you're going to see Sanusi when Asula can't get a look in, man,
that's another one. Listen, if Asula don't start against Wimbledon, that tells me that's a Mitchell signing, and Eddie Howe is doing it out of spite. He don't want nothing to do with it. Right? He's proving a point. Because
and that's a thing as well.
Reason why that brother should not be starting.
I think everyone could agree that Eddie Howe is quite stubborn. He's stubborn. Like this whole thing of like I'm not over this whole like trying to like gel in Tonali slowly. It's just like, for goodness sake, man, what? We're wasting. You're potentially going to get this player quite upset to a point. He's just going to be like, actually,
Listen,
I want to leave.
I think he starts against Man City, but if he doesn't start against Man City, my man's going to hand in a transfer request, yeah, and come out of there, and he should do, because that will be the hugest violation, yeah. If you can't start him in that, anyway, we'll see in it. But we're going to preview the Man City game later on in the week, but I think that's a good place to wrap it for now. Eddie out. What are we saying? Eddie out. Yeah.
I just think it's reached a point now where I'm not being pessimistic. Unless the manager goes, and it depends when the manager goes. If the season is salvageable, it's Europe or bust. I don't think we'll make Champions League, but we may have a situation where we have to sell at least Bruno or Isak, not just for financial means, and Gordon, because they don't want to be here, and I don't blame them because they're Champions League level players. And basically start again.
Gordon ain't, but we can get money, good money for him. Yeah?
We need to start again. Essentially, I think now we're in that position.
I
know. We might even have to sell Joelinton, to be honest with you, because he's 28. He's at his peak.
We can get good money for him. As much as I like you, bro. Listen, I think. And like I said, I bring it back to Curtis. He said the biggest mistake we made was extending that brother's contract. And I'm starting to wonder. I backed him to the hills, bro, but he's got.
It's a shame, man. Like, because I do back Joelinton as well, but if I look at the trend of like extending Almiron's contract, at the time it felt a bit rosy, but now look at it. This guy ain't budging. And also other things that alarm me, and just. Oh man, there's so many pieces to this. There's things like we bought Lo Kelly. I know he's on a free, but my man's on 150 grand a week.
It's
150 grand a week on a 5-year contract. On a 5-year contract.
Yeah.
You're telling me this guy's going to be here for 5 years in our club on 150 grand a week?
He's going nowhere. He's going nowhere.
Who approved that?
You can't shift Matt Target. We can't shift Matt Target. So Lloyd Kelly is chilling. Yeah,
we're going to make the same mistake unless, like, obviously, Lord Kelly becomes quite prolific. It proves himself. Someone comes in, sweeps him off the feet, takes him off us. But that's a big if at the moment, because at the moment, I'm still trying to understand Lloyd Kelly's like people.
Well, give him time. Give him time. And like Jeff said, his best position is left centre back, so he might get a stint there eventually. Eddie Howe might wake up and say, you know what? But try him there, and he might excel. But
the thing is, though, there's a pattern that people are not really realizing. This guy is best left centre back. Who else was left centre back that we forced to play left back all the time? Dan Burn. Yeah. It's a very similar pattern. So now we're forcing this guy to play left. It's just like, just start Hall. He is our best left back at the moment, because progressively he's very good at the pitch. Obviously, he will get better with time as well on the defensive side. Because don't get me wrong, I think Kelly is slightly a bit on the defensive side. But just play people in their best positions. And that goes back to the starting 11. Play the players in the best positions. I don't want to see Joelinton play on the right-hand side and left on the midfield ever again. Don't do that.
We'll see.
Longstaff is coming back in the team.
Yeah, but you know what? You know what? I don't think many people can cuss about that at the moment, but because he come out and we lost, yeah? But I'm not saying he's the answer, because Tonali should be in that position. But we'll see what Eddie Howe does on Tuesday, sorry, and then we'll see what he does on the weekend. Obviously, we're going to preview that one. Don't go. If he loses to AFC Wimbledon, sack him after full time. Yeah, sack him at full time.
I think it does get hostile for losing against Wimbledon, because I think no fan can defend that. I think every fan will go like, "What the hell?" Like,
yeah. Well, we'll see. But we'll leave it there for now. We'll be back in a few days' time to preview the Man City game. But yeah, don't forget to.
We have to.
I'm not even going to say.
I might just mute my mic for that episode. I'm going to mute my mic.
I might call in sick. I might call in sick.
We should have a Man City fan on there with us as well. So stay tuned for that. But until then, we'll see you then. Peace.
Hello, people. Catch you soon.
They are going to slap us about for 90 minutes, bro.
Are we talking about the ultra low block at St. James's?
Oh yeah, that bus will be parked on the line. Yeah,
ultra low block.
Isak running, chasing shadows. Poor guy.
Yeah. But anyway, it is what it is.
Let's go, man. Let's go.